I just want us to be careful about buying into the narrative that the worst thing going on right now is the looting. Use that word too for a moment. Think about it. Is it looting to basically be a major corporation in this country and receive billions in tax breaks while supposedly there isn't money or means to give every American health care? I don't know. I think that's looting.
When I was a kid, I remember going by some businesses that were boarded up and they looked weird and like no one had been there for a long time. And someone in my family who's an elder told me, oh, this place has been closed since they killed King and it got burned out and it never really came back.
There are boarded up places that got boarded up after the assassination of Dr. King. There are vacant lots where buildings were burned down, that were burned down in 1968. Nothing has grown up to replace them. And while we appreciate the peaceful demonstration, and we all have a need to vindicate our presence and to express what we think and what we feel. But we also have a responsibility to acknowledge certain things work and some things don't work quite as well. And so pillaging, looting, burning down, tearing up what is in existence does not necessarily bring the results that we're looking for.
But sometimes an act of aggression yields the exact desired result, and some unintended consequences.
A crowd that grew to 200 people gathered in the streets outside. The crowd got hostile when it witnessed police officers' rough treatment of the men and women, from pushing to kicking to arm twisting. Someone yelled, "Black power, don't let them take our people away." And quickly, folks started throwing bricks, rocks, and beer cans at the police. One bottle smashed through the last police cruiser to leave the scene, and what forever came to be known in the media as the, quote, Detroit riot, what government officials dubbed Detroit's civil disturbance, and what Blacks called the Great Rebellion, erupted. No numbers ran during that entire week as looting, burning, and violence wore on for 5 days. A combined force of nearly 17,000 officers, National Guardsmen, and federal troops was sent in. And by the time the uprising was suppressed, as many as 155,000 rounds of ammunition had been fired by law enforcement. 43 people were dead, 30 of them African Americans, including a 4-year-old girl named Tanya, victim to a .50 caliber bullet fired by the National Guard. More than 7,000 people were arrested on riot-related charges.
So you and I sitting here both know that that happened in 1967.
Yes.
But I promise it could be a blog entry from 2 or 3 nights ago as we sit here in 2020.
Exactly. I've been having flashbacks, Brian.
And you were just a girl.
I was just a little girl. I was not quite 7 years old when it all happened. And it absolutely is a scar on my memory. The fear, the sense of not knowing what was happening. And now when I think about it and I realize the damage that it left in its wake, not least of which was Detroit never really quite recovered. A lot of those 2,500 buildings were not rebuilt. That's the anxiousness I feel now. What will be left in the wake of this devastation?
In addition to being a living witness to the Detroit uprising of '67, Bridgett Davis is the author of The World According to Fannie Davis, a memoir of her late mother, an independent Black businesswoman who ran a numbers banking business from her Detroit home for more than 2 decades.
You, more than almost anyone, had a firsthand view of what economic independence and the multiplier effect that dollars in Black communities can have when they stay inside the Black community, both in the short term and historically.
Yes, even though small businesses were gone, a very significant underground economy continued to thrive. And so people had a means to continue to support themselves, to rebuild their businesses, to contribute, like my mom did, to rebuilding. Those things were in place because that particular underground economy was already in place. And that's what's so different from today. And that's another feeling that I have, my concern about how we'll regroup.
Let me tell you, without help, these small businesses, many of them, will never come back.
And while the loss of prosperity for an entire generation of Black communities is nearly incalculable, Blacks have suffered higher mortality rates from the coronavirus and greater joblessness. And a recent study from the National Bureau of Economic Research found the COVID-19 pandemic led to the closing of some 3.3 million small businesses, 440,000 of which were Black-owned, a 41% decline from February through April, making Black business owners the most impacted group. For Congressman Danny K. Davis, who represents the neighborhood where my parents still live and holds a seat on the Ways and Means Committee, that wealth gap has a very human face.
Yeah.
It's African American men who've never had a job. It's young women with 2 and 3 children earning $30,000 a year, if they earn that much. How do you take care of yourself and 3 children as a clerk at one of the dollar stores or one of the places, or working in a nursing home as a health aide where you're making less than $15 an hour?
And there's something about COVID-19 that has changed the conversation, right? No longer can government say what it can't do. The government stepped in and provided millions, billions of dollars in aid.
The Ways and Means Committee tweeted this, saying that over 110,000 Americans have died due to COVID-19 and 42 million are out of work. And you add that to the strain that was already on small businesses, Black businesses, minority and women-owned. So do you think something like a Marshall Plan for Black communities would be something that the U.S. government should get behind and develop?
Unequivocally and without a doubt. I mean, we can call it the Martin Luther King plan. We can call it the Roy Wilkins plan. We can call it the Sojourner Truth plan. What's so important is that we do it. I mean, we don't have any other way to infuse capital into disadvantaged areas and put people to work. Guess what? The money that they generate is going to flow right back into the economy.
Right.
Because now they're paying taxes, they're working. So that money is going to put money back into the treasury, which gives us money to do other things with. I don't call it spending. I call it investment. If there's no investment, no return.
I am ultimately, ironically, Brian, positive about this moment. I am. It's painful, it's scary. We still are in an unknown territory, but I do believe that that's how progress works. And so this is this generation's opportunity to push us forward. I believe in them. I believe in my son. I believe in all these young people out here. I believe in people like you doing the good work, the hard work, you know, and I think that it does matter. It matters.